Vanessa, or anybody else in the beautiful ballroom, was that I had never really transferred ownership of the software to Anderson Supply Chain Solutions, a detail that would prove critical tomorrow morning. The Anderson family had been in the logistics business since my grandpa began carrying construction supplies in a single truck after World War II, and each generation had grown the company, with my mother taking it national in the 1990s. It was always thought that Vanessa, who was 5 years my senior, would eventually take over. She had a business degree, a professional personality, and, most significantly, our mother's full trust. I was the family outlier, more interested in computers than corporate meetings, happier coding alone than networking at business events. My father, before his death 10 years ago, was my champion. Lily sees the future, he would inform my mother. She understands systems in ways the rest of us never will. After Dad died, I honored his faith in me by pursuing a computer science degree, and then a master's degree in artificial intelligence, believing that my skills would someday find a home in the family firm. But when I returned with my credentials, Mother demoted me to the IT department, where I would support our obsolete systems rather than modernize them. "We're a logistics company, not a tech startup," she'd say whenever I mentioned modernization. "Let's stick to what we know." Vanessa, meanwhile, was being prepared for leadership by shadowing our mother in executive meetings and representing the company at industry gatherings. I didn't mind her attention. She was good with people and skilled at networking, which was crucial to our firm. What bothered me was how my personal contributions were continuously reduced, with my technological expertise viewed as a weird hobby rather than a commercial value. 6 months ago, when our largest client threatened to quit due to our archaic tracking systems, I saw an opportunity. I approached Mother with a proposal. "Give me 6 months to develop a proprietary app that will revolutionize our supply chain management." "We don't have the budget to hire a development team," she stated dismissively. "You don't need one, I can do it myself." She had laughed at that. Actually, I laughed. Before Vanessa intervened. "Let her try, Mother. What do we have to lose at this point?" It wasn't a resounding recommendation, but it was sufficient. I was given a limited budget, and a 6-month time frame. What neither of them knew was that I had been working on the project for about a year, constructing the framework in my apartment on evenings and weekends. I worked formally for several days before continuing to code late into the night. I recorded everything, every line of code, every decision, and every milestone, partly as a matter of good development practice, and partially because Vanessa's help had felt calculated rather than supportive. The project was my chance to finally establish my worth to the family firm, but I wasn't so stupid as to believe professional envy couldn't exist between sisters. Still, I never expected tonight's utter disregard of my effort, or the terrible knowledge that my family may never regard me as more than technical support. The morning following the gala, I arrived at the office early with the intention of clearing my mind before the expected discussions about Vanessa's leadership transition. The development lab I had been utilizing was tucked down in the basement of our Seattle offices, out of sight, much like my contribution to the company's existence. As I walked into the lab, I was astonished to see Vanessa already there, inspecting the whiteboard where I had drawn the Symbios design. Throughout the whole process, she had not made a single visit. "Morning," I answered, putting down my laptop bag. "Admiring your handiwork?" She was gracious enough to appear embarrassed for a brief moment. "Don't be like that, Meg. Last night was business, not personal." "Taking credit for my work is pretty personal from where I'm standing," I shot back. Vanessa moaned and perched on the edge of my desk. "Look, I know you did the technical heavy lifting, but Mother's right. This company needs a face people trust. Someone who speaks their language. The clients relate to me. And that justifies the bonus, the promotion? Acting like you had anything to do with developing the app that saved the company?" I refused to believe. "The app is company property, developed by an Anderson employee for Anderson Supply Chain Solutions," she explained, her tone moving from conciliatory to businesslike. "Your salary was compensation for that work, just like any other project." The statement struck me like a physical blow, not because they were harsh, but because they demonstrated how utterly my family disregarded both me and modern business realities. They truly assumed that the software belonged to the company because I was an employee and an Anderson. "I wanted to give you a heads up," Vanessa said, evidently misinterpreting my silence as consent. "Mother's announcing the new executive structure this morning. You're being promoted to Chief Technology Officer." "CTO?" I asked, caught off guard. It's a significant title increase from IT manager, she explained. And a 30% raise. We recognize your contribution, Meg, truly. But the company needs clear leadership, and that means you, I concluded. Because I'm just a tech person. She stroked my shoulder as she stood to depart. I knew you'd understand. The board meeting starts at 9 o'clock. Try not to be late, it looks unprofessional. After she had left, I sat at my desk, staring at the intricate system architecture on my whiteboard. All those nights, all that ingenuity, reduced to being the tech person who should be glad for a promotion while my sister reaped the real power and pay. I opened my laptop and went to a folder labeled Symbios Legal. Inside was documentation I'd prepared months ago but hoped I'd never need. Copyright registrations, timestamps of development milestones, the GitHub repository proving my sole authorship, and most importantly, proof that I had built the majority of the app on my own time and with my own equipment. I had thought that my family would see my worth on their own. That hope died in a very public way last night. Now it was time for Plan B. I took out my phone and dialed the number I had saved but never intended to use. Heather, it's Lily Anderson. I need your legal services after all. How soon can you come to my office? At 8:55 a.m., I stood outside the boardroom with Heather Preston beside me. As one of Seattle's best intellectual property attorneys, her mere appearance would convey a message, but the documents in her leather portfolio would accomplish far more. Are you sure about this? Heather inquired calmly. Once we walk in, there's no going back to the way things were with your family. The way things were wasn't working for me, I told you. And judging by last night, it never will. At precisely 9 a.m., we entered the boardroom. Mother sat at the head of the table, with Vanessa on her right. The remaining positions were filled by board members, most of whom were longtime Anderson Supply Chain Solutions supporters. Everyone turned to Heather, apparently curious about the stranger in the power suit. Lily, you're just on time, Mother replied, her grin barely reaching her eyes. And you've brought a guest. This is Heather Preston, my attorney, I explained, taking a seat across from Vanessa. I believe the first item on today's agenda is the new executive structure, which directly concerns me. The temperature in the room appeared to decrease 10 degrees. Mother's smile faded completely. I wasn't aware you felt you needed legal representation for a family business discussion, she remarked with a frown. I didn't either, until last night made it clear that family and business have very different definitions in this company. Mother glanced at the other board members, evidently attempting to keep control of the narrative. Perhaps we should discuss this privately first, Lily. Actually, I think the entire board should hear this, I said. After all, they have fiduciary responsibilities to the company, and what I'm about to share directly impacts Anderson's primary asset. Heather opened her portfolio and handed out copies of a document to everyone at the table. This is a preliminary licensing agreement for the Symbios application, which legally belongs to Lily Anderson as its sole creator and copyright holder. The room exploded into bewildered murmuring. Vanessa grabbed the document, her face flushing as she studied the contents. This is absurd, Mother exclaimed. The app was developed for Anderson Supply Chain Solutions by an employee. It belongs to the company. Heather stayed completely calm. That would be accurate if development had taken place solely during company time, with business resources, and within the scope of Miss Anderson's work duties. However, as the data we've compiled shows, around 78% of development took place on Miss Anderson's personal time, with her personal equipment, and much outside the scope of her employment as IT manager. She created a second, thicker document, outlining my development path, replete with timestamps, commits, and proof of when and where the work was completed. This is a family company, Mother said, her composure melting. We don't need these legal games. I'm not playing games, I explained gently. I'm protecting my intellectual property while still trying to benefit the company. The licensing agreement is extremely favorable, much more so than you'd get from any third party. You're holding your own family hostage, Vanessa charged, tossing the licensing agreement down on the table. After everything we've done for you? What exactly have you done for me, Vanessa? Take credit for my work? Accept a bonus for my innovation? One of the board members, Harold Jameson, a tech venture capitalist and friend of my father, cleared his throat. I'd like to review these documents before we proceed. If Miss Anderson's claims are valid, we need to approach this carefully. Mother seemed misled by his sensible response. Harold, surely you're not entertaining this rebellion. It's not rebellion, Eleanor. It's business. And if your daughter